Doug DeMuro, and today I'm going to take you on a tour of my garage. I should tell you that my garage is not particularly interesting or exciting, especially compared to some car YouTubers and entertainers that have like a warehouse and a zillion cars to show off. It isn't me. So as a result, you may not find this video to be particularly entertaining. Just a warning, you probably won't get that level of honesty with other car YouTubers. The reason that I say that my garage is not particularly interesting compared to some car entertainers and car celebrities is that it isn't. I've seen some people's garages with giant lifts and a ton of space and like 5 supercars and rugs in his garage, which is just insanity. My garage isn't anything like that. It's just a normal 2-car garage you would see in a house. But I posted a couple of pictures on Instagram that showed some of the details in my garage. More information or more detail about that stuff, so today I'm going to show it to you. So I'm going to start my garage tour with an important point, and that is the fact that I use my garage as a normal garage. Now that may not... That's what it's for, but here in California where I live, the weather is so good that people typically park their cars on the street and use their garage for storage because they don't ever have to clean off snow or ice or anything like that from their car. But I have these that I don't want parked on the street. My Ford GT for obvious reasons, because it's rare and valuable and I don't want it to get damaged. And my Land Rover Defender because it doesn't really have a realistic roof. And take the canvas roof off every time you use it and put it back on. It's a lot easier to just leave the roof off. While you can take the canvas roof off every time you use it and put it back on, it's a lot easier to just leave the roof off, and so I never really put the roof on it. And as a result, I actually use my garage for 2 cars, and they take up about 90% of the space that's in here. Now, before I start getting into some of my interesting garage, it's a lot easier to just leave the roof off and park it in the garage, and so I never really put the roof on it. And as a result, I actually use my garage for 2 cars, and they take up about 90% of the space that's in here. Now, before I start getting into some of my a couple of items worth getting out of the way. One, you might be wondering why the Ford GT is parked like this. You can see it's parked at an angle in the garage, and the reason for that is simple. The doors. The doors of this car have a roof on them, which I find to be the most annoying piece of design about this entire car, and that means that if you park right get out because the roof prevents you from doing so. But if I angle the car like this, you can see the passenger door can open up all the way without actually hitting the Defender. The passenger can easily get out. The driver's door can open up most of the way, much because I know about the roof, but for the passenger, it's easier for them to be able to open the entire door, so you don't have to explain to them, sorry, you have to crouch down when you get out of my car. And so that's why the Ford GT is parked at an angle. Now, another question I know people the floor so ugly. Make a garage floor. Why don't you do something nice? There are a couple of reasons for that. One is the fact that my Defender barely clears into the garage as it is. In fact, I had to have my garage door adjusted upwards so the Defender could get in. It clears by like a centimeter. And so the result of that is even if I down as like a garage floor, adding any little bit could prevent my Defender from getting into the garage, and I don't want to do that. But also it's because I just don't really care all that much. A lot of people complain about this electric my license plate. Well, I like when things are a little bit off. Perfect all the time because then you're going to spend your entire mental energy making everything perfect all the time. This garage floor is fine. I'm going to keep it. The electrical outlet is fine. I'm going to keep it. I try not to let little things like that bother me, although I know a lot of people. But anyway, let's move on to some of the stuff in my garage that is actually interesting and exciting, some of these cool details that people have been asking about on Instagram. One of the big ones is my giant wall of license plates. I posted a picture of this on and I was surprised because people asked, were those all from your cars? I have not owned 70 cars in like 30 states. A couple of them came from my cars, but almost none of them did. Instead, these are special low-numbered license plates, which are typically reserved for people who are like politically connected in some capacity in their state. I don't have a license plate like this, but I've always been fascinated by the idea that like special people who are better than the rest of us can get and they can display to everyone that they're better as they're driving around. For example, you can see Virginia license plate number 1, Utah number 2, Washington 4, Idaho 3. It keeps kind of going down, Maryland 20. You don't get one of those plates just walking into the DMV. When I go into the DMV, I get a plate with like 4 numbers and 3 letters, but some people have connections and they get... Now, the cool thing about these plates is that some of them have labels on them that are actually really special. You can see Alaska governor, Florida U.S. Senator, Pennsylvania U.S. Senator, Alabama Congressman. That's kind of one of the ways you can get these really special low-numbered plates. So a lot of people ask which ones are my favorites. There are some really cool ones up here. Texas Congressional Medal of Honor is pretty cool. I have Pearl Harbor survivor from Wyoming and Nebraska. Those are neat. I love that Nevada has a plate for a state. I also have a state assembly man. You'd think they would have saved themselves money and just written state assembly, then they would have had to do that, but that's the decision they made. I really like those, but my personal favorites are the plates that don't have any, like, special... For example, in Nebraska, yeah, Pearl Harbor survivor is number 30. Because how many Pearl Harbor survivors live in Nebraska? Probably like 40, right? But it's cool when it's just a plate, like Idaho, 3. Doesn't say anything else. That's just their normal plate. Somehow that guy got 3. Colorado, 9. Somehow that dude got 9. Those are kind of the more interesting ones. So those are my favorites. North Carolina, 6. Every way except one number on them, unlike your license plate. Now, you might be wondering where these license plates all came from. Did I just steal them from the cars of U.S. senators? And the answer to that is no. They come from a lot of different sources. eBay collectors on the part of some license plate collector Facebook groups, and occasionally some special low-numbered plate will come up, and I'll buy it, and now I have these. And as you can see, they're displayed in order, starting with number 1, going down to 98. I haven't really made an effort to fill in all the numbers because I'm trying to be casual about it, but I just like seeing all the special low numbers. Now, my next interesting my wall of car emblems. The back or front wall, depending on how you want to call it, is all filled with car emblems. So every time I pull into my garage, I have all these car emblems staring back at me. I put this off and post it on Instagram. I was stunned how many people, that's so cool, that's the coolest thing in the world. Yeah, it is. It's pretty cool, and you can do it too. Although, I actually did a car badge wall in my first apartment, my first studio apartment in Atlanta when I was like 21, right out of college, and it didn't look so good inside. It definitely belongs in a garage, not really that you plan. And it didn't look so good inside. It definitely belongs in a garage, not really a thing for a room that you plan on living in. But in the garage, it does look pretty cool, and I'm really thrilled with how car badge wall. When I first put it up, I got quite a bit of comments from people saying, oh, there's no Porsche badge, there's no Ferrari, there's no Lamborghini. Junkyards. Okay, there's no Porsche, there's no Lamborghini. This was 2 days badge wall in my first apartment, my first studio. Things about the car badge wall. When I first put it up, I got quite a bit of comments from people saying, oh, there's no Porsche badge, there's no Ferrari, there's no Lamborghini. Yeah, these came from junkyards. Okay, there's no Porsche, there's no Lamborghini. This was 2 days at Pull Apart in Atlanta, and then a couple of eBay junkyard purchases as well. There are typically not that many Porsches, Tesla, people junkyards in South Atlanta. So that's why a lot of the badges are not only like kind of older cars, but also kind of crappy cars that you'd expect to be in a junkyard. But nonetheless, I think it's a cool look. Now, some people ask, how did I get these putty that sticks stuff to the wall? And I mean a lot. In fact, if you look closely, you can see the putty through the emblems. It look that good when you get up to it. But these badges sit right above the Ford GT, and I was nervous that they would fall on it, and I would rather have them kind of look a little ugly than precariously be badge falling on my Ford GT. In terms of which badges are the coolest, there are some cool ones up here. Peugeot has a badge on this wall. I actually took that off of a 505 in a junkyard in Atlanta, which is pretty cool. Another Lotus badge, that was not from a Lotus. That's actually from an Isuzu Stylus or an Isuzu Impulse. There was a time General Motors owned Isuzu, and they were selling not just SUVs but also cars, and they wanted people to Lotus tune the handling, and the cars got those badges. And I found a Stylus in the junkyard, and I pulled one of those off of it. It's really cool. But other badges up here that I think are pretty cool. I love the SS badge for Chevy. I love that Scottsdale badge, the pickup. There's just generally some cool ones. There's a BMW M badge I think are pretty cool. I love the SS badge for Chevy. I love that Scottsdale badge, the big old Chevy pickup. There's some cool ones. There's a BMW M badge up here that was on an E33 series, not an E30 M3. It was just a fake badge. But I got it now, and it's on my wall, and so that is my wall of car badges, and I do highly recommend junkyard. You can pull off like 20, 30, 40 badges in a day, stick them up on your wall, and it does look cooler than I expected it to. I'm really happy it's here. Oh, and one more cool car emblem. Sorry for geeking out here, but I told you this video would... Above the door, we have this circle, and then there's a diamond inside it. This was a Mazda badge that Mazda only used for like 10 months. In 1992 and 1993. Eventually they got rid of it because it looked too similar to Renault, and that's when Mazda changed to the circle inside the circle. And so finding that circle with the diamond inside it is actually really, really rare, and I find it to be really special. Even though it's worth probably like 30 cents. And finally, we move on to the last interesting, noteworthy item in this garage, and that would be my shelves of cars. This represents a small car model collection, but these are the ones that I thought were the coolest, the most worthy of display. And before I get into them and explain them, it's worth knowing something about me. I like weird cars. Those about new SUVs, new crossovers. I love supercars, but more... I just love weird, unusual, kind of special cars, and that will help explain on these shelves. I'm going to start at the bottom, and you can see this is where Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars are. Not a lot of supercars in here. Instead, I have some weird stuff. There's a Jeep Grand Wagoneer with woody siding, which is so cool. I have a Land Rover card on there, which you don't see every day. I have a 4Runner, which I really like. A Cadillac CTS wagon, non-me, just a regular CTS wagon. And at the very end, a CRX. Too many, which I really like. A Cadillac CTS wagon, non-me, just a regular CTS wagon. And at the very end, a CRX and a Prius. See too many of those displayed in a Hot Wheels collection because most people are bored by them. Now right in the middle here, I have this cool Dubai Police supercar set. I got that from the Dubai Police. I had a police tour while I was there. Dubai Police supercar set. I got that from the Dubai Police. I had a police tour while I was there, and they passed out those, and I've always thought that was pretty cool. Shelf here, this is kind of the pinnacle of some of my weird cars. These are my 1 to 43rd scale cars. On the left, I have a Suzuki Sidekick. Malta. A car shop in Malta in Valletta, and there's a Suzuki Sidekick, and I'm like, I can't believe anybody made a model Suzuki Sidekick, or Vitara as they call it. And so I do. And from there, it gets actually a little weirder. I have a Volvo 850. That was my first car. This is actually an 850 Turbo with those wheels, and my first car was an 850 Turbo. Mine was white, but it's close enough. Can't believe anybody made a model of it. On the other side, you can see the MPV models out there. I have an Opel van, which and I have a Saab 97X. And I mean, good luck finding a Saab 97X model. That's a car they shouldn't have made, let alone made a die-cast version of. I cannot believe someone paid money to create that, and I also can't believe I paid I did. There's also a couple of like special not that weird cars on here. An old Range Rover, which is cool. Mercedes G-Wagon, cool. Lancer Evo 6, my very favorite version of the Evo, one of my favorite Japanese cars. Carrera GT, my the best color. Lambo 350 GT, which I consider to be the most beautiful car ever made. And then in the middle, the pièce de résistance of the entire garage, it has the Suzuki Hustler radio control car. car, except it spelled radio control car. I bought this in Tokyo. The Hustler is this K car that's just ridiculous and cool and absurd looking. And I saw them around and I loved it, and then I saw this and I bought it. I have to have this, and I actually paid to ship this home from Tokyo. And it is one of my favorite possessions. And finally, on the top shelf, you have some more weirdness. You have an Oldsmobile Aurora. Again, why did they make a model of that? You have a Dodge Stratus. I can't believe there's a model of that, but I had to have it. There's a Ford Taurus from the 80s, a Dodge Omni, which is just a great car. In the middle, you have a Chrysler PT Cruiser. My friend Sean made this for me. It's like an exact replica of the Chrysler PT Cruiser. I crushed with my Hummer. Right down to the wood siding, and it's the board we tacked on the side and the green paint in the interior. He helped me crush the PT Cruiser with the Hummer, and he gave me that, and it was the coolest thing. And I love that. I have a Mitsubishi Galant VR4 buildable model. I bought this in Italy at this model car store I love in the town of Como. And it looked like it had been sitting on the shelf since 1991. I had to have this thing. And so I was like 30 bucks for the model, but I had to ship it home. I ruined my luggage. It was like 50 bucks to ship it, but I told the guy, please send it to me, whatever it costs, I'll pay it. I must have this. And so I have this buildable. I ruined my luggage. It was like 50 bucks to ship it, but I told the guy, please send it to me, whatever it costs, I'll pay it. I must have this. And so I have this buildable Galant VR4. But I'm actually afraid to build it. It's 25-year-old stuff that's never been touched in the box. So it's cool either way. And so that's it. That is a tour of the Doug DeMuro garage. Like I told you, not that exciting, no lifts, no exotic sports cars, but there are some license plates and some car badges and some car models. And it's exciting. And if you're like most people, you won't. This will be the end of this video. We'll see you next time, everybody. Goodbye.